what's up? What's up? It's your boy, GM Ashley, in the house. What's up? How y'all doing tonight? We got some deep puzzles ahead. Deep. Like, these are shark-infested waters. You know how when it's real deep and you're there and you're like, is it safe? Nah, it's not safe. The water is deep and there's sharks everywhere. Deep puzzles ahead. This is the one to really amp up your brain. If you haven't had your coffee or something to drink, you know, like I got my cup. By the way, the last time I had a blue, nasty looking cup. Today I got my Hennessy glass. Oh man, it's only water in here, by the way, but you know, I got to rep Hennessy. So get something to drink, kick back, be ready. Brain stimulation time is in effect. And we are doing our retrograde analysis puzzles right here. Did anyone solve the puzzle? Somebody said they want to polish my bald cranium. You and a lot of people. I'm just going to say, I'm just keep it real, okay? You and a lot of people. Thank you, best team maker, EU. And indeed, this is going to be fun. So we are back with the critical question of the day, of the last few minutes anyway, and that is, can Black Castle? Can Black Castle? That's the question. Retrograde analysis time. For those of you who have never seen a retrograde analysis puzzle, it's a puzzle where you have to figure out the past by either looking at the present or finding out some future fact. So this is ways to open up your brain. These are the kind of puzzles that GMs look at. The last time on the show, you could look at a great set of retrograde analysis puzzles. My last stream, one including, it was including one by Levon Ironian that he showed to me, Kasparov, and Svidler. But that's a whole story about the last show. You can check that out. This one, however, the stipulation is straightforward and simple. The situation is, white just moved. White just moved. It is Black's turn to move. Neither side made a capture on their last move. Neither side made a capture on their last move. So the question becomes, can Black castle by having that fact alone? Now, you cannot answer this question. You can look at it and say, legally, Black can castle based on your stipulation. Without thinking about it, you know, there's two spaces, King and Rook. We don't know if they've moved or not. Why can't we castle? Well, that is the question. We don't know whether or not they moved. Simple. Has the Black King moved or the Rook moved? We don't know. If one of them has moved, then clearly you cannot castle. But how can we find out? Well, that's the detective story. And the book that I love to show everybody, I keep it nearby, is this book right here, The Chess Mysteries of Sherlock Holmes, one of the most beautiful books I've ever had the pleasure of reading, one of my favorite chess books. It's not chess, it's retrograde analysis. But you want to be a detective, you want to really understand the game even on another layer, this book is awesome for that. Well, the point here is, how do you figure it out? How do you figure it out? And so remember, you cannot, on the last move, white did not capture. Whatever white just did, white did not capture anything. And before that, Black had not captured anything on that last move as well. So let's get to the answer. There are two possibilities, but you have to first ask the question, what was white's last move? This is how you answer these puzzles. What was white's last move? Well, let's find out. What could white have just done? We can look at everything. We see this pawn has a move, this pawn has a move, and this pawn has a move. Therefore, it has nothing to do with these pawns, all right? Because they haven't moved. This pawn must have been the E pawn at some point in life. And to get to F3, it would have captured. The problem says there's been no capture in the last move or the move before that. White didn't capture, Black didn't capture. Therefore, this did not move either. That's easy. So far, so easy. All right, what if white's last move was Rook to F1? Well, that's impossible because white just moved. And if this Rook were sitting on E1, then it would be check to the king. Not possible. You can't play Rook F1 when you just had the king in check. It would have been Black's move, but it's white who just moved. So now we have eliminated five possible things from having made the last move. Can't be this, can't be this, Can't be this, can't be this, can't be this. So let's get to the true culprit, the white king. Clearly, the white king just made a move. There are two ways white could have gotten this king to this position. One is to move out of check from one of these two squares, or to have actually castled to get to this point. All right? We're clear on that. If the king moved out of check, that means black's last move was to give check. This rook would have given check. Therefore, black cannot castle if that king were on the h-file, because the rook moved to give check. So we've eliminated that now and said, if the king were on h1 or h2, then black cannot castle because black's last move was check. By the way, we should point out, if there was a bishop here, for example, the bishop could have moved out of the way if only this pawn were in there. And then black could say, well, I didn't move my rook. I created a discover check, so therefore I could castle. But this pawn on f3 makes that, this pawn on f3 makes that impossible. So now we know if the king were on h1 or h2, or h2 and h1, then castles is not possible for black because black just delivered a check. So that now makes us go one step back and say, all right, we've eliminated everything else. Let's look at if white had just castled on the last move. So if white had just castled on the last move, this was the position, and white castles. Therefore, black should be able to castle. There's no rule that says you can't castle. Okay, white could have taken rook takes rook. That's not our problem. We're trying to analyze something different. Castles. Seems like castles, then you can castle. What's the problem? It's a retrograde analysis puzzle. Because now we ask ourselves the question, okay, what was black's last move to get to this position before white castled? And remember, black didn't take anything, right? So now we start looking around. And we're looking around and we realize that if one of these two pieces moved, then obviously black can't castle. So we got to look at the other things on the board. Let's take a look at this pawn. This pawn possibly could have moved to c4, right? Could have said, okay, this pawn could have moved to c4 in the last move. Why not? Black pawn moved to c4, and then white castled. Remember, it's a retrograde analysis puzzle. Let's go one move before that. If black's last move had been pawn to c4, then what did white do? Right? What did white do? White had to have captured something, didn't capture anything. So therefore, white's pieces are pieces that would have moved. Nothing could have moved, so therefore white could not castle because white moved something. And that is the essence of the puzzle. Because black didn't do anything on the last move, white didn't do anything on the move before that, castles is impossible. Therefore, black cannot castle. Also, by the way, this bishop move would have been the same, or this pawn trying to promote to a bishop would have been the same. It would have had the king in check. And therefore, castling is impossible for black. And that's the logic of the retrograde analysis puzzle. Make sense? No castle for black. Everybody is looking around and saying, this puzzle is so weird. I know it's a weird concept, but if you look at some of the other puzzles in this book, you'll realize weird is good. Weird is good. So let's do this now, y'all. Let's go for it as I go to the next one. On to the next one. On to the next one. Here's our puzzle. Here is our puzzle. You ready? You said, this guy stalls more than me. Yeah, you're really building this up. The hype is in. This is the hype. Let's go, y'all. Here it is. I promised it to you. I'm going to show it to you now. The first one. This puzzle was created in 1917 by J.A.J. Druitt. I was like, when your name is J.A.J., you know, how cool you think you are that you're J.A.J. His name was John, but J.A.J. Don't call me John. Call me J-A-J. I was like, you're like Jay-Z in the building. J-A-J with the chess puzzle. Let's do this. This is chess, not checkers. What? Come on now. J-A-J. Do it. Drew it. All right. Here we go. He created this puzzle in 1917. It is white to move and win. White to move and win. First move. Well, before we do all that, we realize queen matches queen. White's got a knight, but white doesn't have any pawns. This king looks a little fishy, but, you know, queen's ready to back it up. No problem. We're about to get deep, y'all. Check this out. White starts with the move queen to f2. Queen to f2. There's a very concrete threat. Concrete, you say. Concrete threat of knight to g1. Knight g1, your queen's gone. You got no moves with your king. You got to give up your queen. Your only move will be to take. Therefore, you've got to do something. The king cannot move. Knight g1's a threat, so don't push this pawn. Don't try something stupid. Thank you. This is check. You're gone. Bye-bye. So knight g1 is a threat. Therefore, black has to move the queen. But where to? Where can you move the queen? Now, here's the pattern that I wanted to express. It begins here and it extends itself on the next move. And you wouldn't believe this is actually a pattern. This is what's so nutty about it. The pattern is the queen being six files away, the queen's being 6 files away and 1 over from the opposing king. In other words, this distance and that. That's a long-ass knight move, right? That's like a long-ass knight move. That's what that is. 6 files, in particular, away and 1 over. Like, what's that as a pattern? What's that, right? It is a pattern. And I accidentally stumbled on the pattern, and I'll show you my puzzle, which I've actually shown on this show before. I'll show you my puzzle that stumbled on this pattern. I didn't even know it was a pattern until today. That's what I'm sharing with you. I got much more spectacular to come, though. That third puzzle, wait for it. At any rate, queen f2. So now there are no checks. It's critical that the queen cannot do anything. The fact that it's 6 over means that the queen can't do any diagonal action checks of some kind. Although even here, it's a little too close, to be honest. But you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. There's no, also big point is there's no check. If you could only go 1 further back, I can't get the arrow to go any further off the board because there's no off the board. There would be a check right, where is that? That's G9. On the G9 square, the square behind this one would allow a check, right? Not possible because the board is not that big. I'm saying if this pawn were not in the way. So at any rate, there are no checks to this king. This king is perfectly safe. So the move black has to play, black has to guard this square because this is mate. Black has no other move. Very straightforward puzzle, very straightforward answer. And that is the move queen to h4. Only move. Must guard. Must guard. All right? Only move. Now, let's keep this puzzle going. Queen f1 check. Now, black has to be careful. Black has only one move, and that is king to h2. The only move. If black plays king g4, black loses the queen instantly. Okay. A little bit longer than instantly. This check is brutal. Because wherever you go, whether it's h5, check, give up your queen, or h3, check, give me your queen. Either one, you got to leave the queen alone, you lose. So you cannot play king to g4. So far, so simple. Queen had to guard the mate. Now your king has to go to the h2 square. And now the move queen g1 check, forcing the king back to h3. And now it is white's turn to move again. White's turn to move. Now your inclination would be, oh, let me check some more. Let me check, let me chase. The beauteousness of this puzzle, the beauteousness of the puzzle is the next move. Come on, y'all. King to b3. The queen still has no way to check the king. Look at that pattern. Okay, the queen can't go to h9. It wants to go to h9, but it can't go to h9. No way to do that. So the queen's frozen. This is mate on this square. If you try to hang around, that's Matutski. Sorry, you're losing. So what can you do? You've got to play the move g5. Only move. Keep the action going. Okay, what is white going to do? You guessed it, boys and girls. King back to A3. Hello. The only way to get it done. Try to put your king on another square and it doesn't work. You can't go here because it'll check. It shows up. You can't go here, of course, because of check. You can't go here because of the same check in the back. There's nowhere to go. You can't, you can't go here either because of this check. There's nowhere to go. So white just goes king back to A3, slide to the right, slide to the left, crisscross. Anyway, sorry, that's my brain. Party time. All right. King B3, king A3, zugzwang to black. Black has no move because if you push the pawn again, once more it's mate. Black has no move. The game's over. That's sweet, right? That's sweet. That was sweet. Yeah, everybody's like laughing. I see it. I see your reactions, folks. Everybody clap your hand. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, y'all. You know what I'm talking about. Parties! Ooh, COVID, vaccine, please come quick. We want a party. Everybody wants to party. Let us get this moving. This one was nice, Mr. J.A.J. Jewett. You could hang out in Brooklyn with us. But let's get to the next puzzle. This one. This one. Okay, here we go. This position, we have a knight and a pawn that's hanging at the moment. And I've kind of given away the answer already for the first move, but I haven't given y'all nothing for this whole line puzzle. So I should have set that up properly, but you know, it doesn't matter. Because the puzzle is so deep, it can warrant a little gift of an idea. So here we go. This knight is not really hanging because there's a little check and wreck. But the problem is that at the moment, black is threatening to play check and then take this knight. Yes? Now, I've shown this puzzle on the show before, so I'm going to go through it very quickly. This is the puzzle that I accidentally stumbled on the geometry that I've already shown, that queen 6 away and 1 over geometry. So in this position, white starts by playing knight to b6. Now, what is the point of this move? The point of this move, complete point of this move, is to play knight to d7. If this pawn gets defended, the game is over. That's it. You defend the pawn, black is busted. The queen shows up, starts checking you like crazy. Your queen is terrible. Sooner or later, the king joins the party. The c-pawn drops. It's over. Black cannot allow the move knight to d7. Or black has to take the pawn. Well, I'm going to tell you black has to take this pawn. It has to be taken. Why? Because if black tries to make another move, like for example, queen d6 is coming for starters, right? So we got queen d6 and knight d7 coming. There's too many moves to guard the pawn. And knight d7 especially, because then your queen cannot take this guy. So let's start with a move that flexes with the queen. And that move is queen to b7. I'm just going to go through all the variations. Queen b7, stopping the move knight d7. And also preparing to check. And once you start checking, party time. And you're also threatening to take the pawn. The problem with this queen on the square is it now becomes a target of attack. Target of assault. You're about to die. Because of queen b2 check. Remember we showed that Iranian position. That queen is on the same line. Ambush, the Russians call it. We call it disco check. Discover check. You know, in the hood, we say disco. All right? Disco. Back in the day. John Travolta. Party, and y'all don't know about that. I'm not even going to bring that up because half of you guys weren't even born in the 70s. Probably 90% of you watching me wasn't born anywhere near the 70s. Tell me if you've been born in the 70s. Anybody on the show born in the 70s? Who's been born in the 70s? Somebody, we'll put your hand up. Oh, you know, like, come on, Maurice. Don't force our age out. You know, come on now. No. Anyway, I was born in the 60s. Like, oh, we got a 64. Whoa, we got the 60s. 77, 72. All right, okay. My bad. There's peeps here. There are peeps here who were born 1733. Don't try it. Come on now. All right. 1945, you lying. You are 1945. It's all beat. All of us beat. Okay. I feel you. Yo, emails are like, damn, y'all are older. I'm young. Yo. Y'all don't know. If you don't know, we was partying in the days. The 70s was a party generation. Come on. The 60s and the 70s. They knew how to party. They knew how to party. Come on. No, now you got COVID. You can't even party in 2020. Those are the party days. Anyway, all right. My apologies. My apologies. Okay, the disco check. That's what made me go off on a tangent. The problem here is if you touch the pawn, check, give me your queen. And somebody said they saw this on another show. Thank you very much for having watched that show to know. But I got to show the people who haven't, including Naroditsky's raid buddies that are like, all right, what's the deal, Mo? What's happening here? The problem is if you try to move your king this away, we just going to march towards you. And when you come back, we're going to check you again. Don't touch our pawn. If you go here, we're going to back check you in your face. And now you got to defend your queen, and we're going to pop you, and we're going to mate you, and the game's going to be over. So don't do this, okay? I'm punishing you for that. So, knight b6, take the pawn. All righty, righty. Next move, knight d7. That's where the knight was headed. Anyway, he says. I don't know why I said it like that, but anyway. Now the king has several moves. They all lose. I'll just go through them one at a time. This one loses the check, and your king has only one place to go, and oops, we'll borrow your queen until the next game, okay, if you don't mind. Your other move is king d4. That's not going to work either, son. Check. Don't cry. Dry your eye. Here comes your mother with those two little guys. What song is that? Me, my Dougie Fresh. Chest fresh. I can't remember. Dun, 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 ba, 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 da, bum, bum. What's the song, y'all? Bum, 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 bum. Oh my God. Is it real? Oh my goodness. I'm feeling the old school jams. Anyway, king c4. Bye-bye. Give me your girl. Okay, next one. Inspector Gadget, that's what I'm talking about. Inspector Gadget, that's what's up. You know it. Yo, see, the old school folks in the house. That's what we're talking about. All that comes to mind. No, Inspector Gadget is the old TV show, but you know about the song is what I'm talking about. So at any rate, let's keep it moving. What's the other move? King b5 loses to check and check. And we're back in our puzzle land. So now let's get it going. King b4 only, because other moves transpose. Now we're going to play check. Now we're going to play check and the move king to b5. For those of you who haven't seen this puzzle, this is where the puzzle gets good. This is where the puzzle gets good. This is right here. The puzzle gets good. Mr. J.A.J. Druitt, much respect because I had not seen your puzzle. But this is where what I thought was like my genius idea turns out it had been foreseen in a much more complex, in a much more simple setting. What I did was contribute a more complex setting, but that's all, not the idea itself. The idea for white to move and win right now, drum roll, now that all of you know this pattern of queen being 6 files away and 1 over, is to play king g5. The winning move. The winning move, king g5, the only way to win. The only way to win. The reason why is not only moving out of potential future checks, okay, because there's a check that's about to come on this square you have to move away from, but it's also beautifully to control the h6 square to trap the black queen. To trap the black queen. Indeed, you're saying, what are you talking about? This queen looks like it has a million moves. You can go back a couple of streams, but I'm going to save you guys the trouble. The queen doesn't have a million moves. We're going to look at all of them. The queen looks like it has a bunch of moves, but it doesn't. First of all, the king cannot move because we got a little action on knight c5, so that's a given. The pawn is the variation that we're going to follow, but first we got to look at the queen moves. The queen looks like it has a ton of moves, but none of them make any sense. Let's start with the move queen to c8. Trying to run and attack. Well, you can't leave your king alone because gangsters show up. You can't go backwards. We get that mate Druid style, J.A.J. style, or if you go here, then knight b6, and that's Johnny Ballgame. So c8 is out. King g5, y'all. That's right. This one resembles something we have seen before, obviously. Check. Your queen's hanging. Thank you very much. Now you're going to get mated. Maybe not right away, but we're going to mate you in a second. All right, so that doesn't work. So 2 diagonal moves are gone. That said, now we know you can't run too far away. For example, queen A8, let's say. Because you're going to face the same problem. Check. And you can't go back because it's mate. And you can't go here because the knight forks you and you're dead. So that's 2 moves gone. That's 3 moves gone. Sorry, this is impossible, this is impossible, and this is impossible. All right, where else? Queen A7. Okay, we're going to check you. You're going to have to go here. And now we check you. Sorry, son. Give me your pawn. And I'm going to take your queen. By the way, I'm not even going to take your queen. I'm going to check you first. So you get nothing. No food for you. You cannot have my beautiful knight. Stop it. All right, so all that doesn't work. So where does the queen go? Now we're going to go up board. We've already eliminated all the retreating ideas. All these are impossible. Therefore, you have to go up board. We're going to go one at a time. Queen here. Ooh, a little disco check. He thinks he's John Travolta in the 70s. No, this ain't no Soul Train line. We're going to beat you in your face first right now. Check, blocking any potential discoveries. And now the king has 2 choices. Both of them lose because that one happens. And you got to give me the queen after that. Give me that. Too bad you took my knight, though. Really upset. But anyway, whatever. We can give you a knight after we mate you in a few moves. And if you go here, then knight b6 check. And that's that. That's 5 queen moves we've covered, right? 5. Killing it. Okay, y'all. King g5. So we got this one covered, this one covered, this one covered, this one covered, and this one covered. What about this one? Well, that's too easy. All right, that's mate. That's 6 queen moves covered. All right, what now? Queen a2 is the only one left among the queen moves. This one is the best one. This one is just the sweetest one because now we're going to track this king. Check, you must go up board or get mated on b6. Check, you must defend. Check, you must continue to defend. Check. We love it. Now you must play king b1 because if you go up board, we'll play check. Give me the queen. So here and now check. You got to go here and bing, 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 bing. Knockout. Game over. Are you convinced there are no queen moves? We've looked at all the queen moves. All of them lose. All of them lose. So let's go all the way back. We got this nasty move, y'all. King g5. All queen moves lose. But what about the little tiny pawn? c5 move. c5, right? That's the last remaining culprit. Well, here we go. Here we go, yo. Check. If king here, we hit you with another fork and another one, Biggie Smalls. So the king has to go here. And this is where king g5 really shows its stuff. Because the next move is another quiet, it ain't really that quiet, but it's another quiet move in that it's not a check. Checks are loud, other moves are quiet, right? In the middle of all the rain, the storm, white plays knight back to e5. This knight's been dancing. This knight's been doing the bachata moves. Knight switch to b6, over to d7, come back to e5. This knight's been having a lot of fun, y'all. Now, and by the way, the knight's just been a beast in this ending, hasn't it? It's like forking you all the different ways you can get forked, man. That's really forked up. This is what's happening to you. Knight to e5. The threat is knight c4. Give me your queen. And now we look very much like Druid's puzzle, right? Where now we have the limited space for the queen to function. Now, this square has to be covered because knight check will mate you. That's the biggest problem you have in this setting, right? That will mate you. So you're in trouble. You've got to guard this square. How can you guard this square? Your king cannot move. Your pawn push doesn't help. How can you guard the square? If only you could stay somewhere along this rank, you could guard the square. But unfortunately, that's covered by knight c4. That's covered by knight takes. That's covered by knight c4. That's by knight c4. That's e6 is covered by queen takes queen. And f6, g6, and h6 is covered by the king. That's nasty. King G5 controlled the H6 square. Also, you can't leave with check because the king just left at 5, 6 and over. So that means your queen has to hang out. And the only place for it to hang out in this position is, well, there are two squares, either here or here. If you go here, we check you. Then we check you again. Hold the phone, Ma. Yes, indeed, check. We check you again. You must stay near your queen. If you go in the corner, we check you here, and then we mate you. That doesn't help. And if you step back, well, we've already seen this idea. We check you here, and then we check you here, and we steal the queen from you. So for the last variation, man, this puzzle is actually complex, man. Gee, Maurice. Bring the puzzles. The last move is queen here, and we have the easy finish. Check, king back, check, king back. Give us your queen. And that's the end of the puzzle. So we took Druid's puzzle, J.A.J. Druid, took that puzzle. We took Druid's puzzle. And now this puzzle, again, I didn't know of his puzzle. But even if I did, this puzzle takes that same beautiful idea of his and takes it one level higher.